How you doing, YouTube? Matt with Massive Beer Reviews. Back with yet another review. A little bit of sour time. A little sour time. A little bit of little barrel aged sour time in the form of Hudson Valley Brewing's Valley Beer. First things first, Hudson Valley Brewing. I've done quite a few of their beers on here. Most of it in crowler form. There's been a couple cans. They're in Beacon, New York, very close to like Newburgh Brewing up there where 84 crosses over the Hudson. And I dig their stuff. They do a lot of sour stuff. Do a lot of sour IPAs. You don't see a lot of people doing it, at least not a ton when they started doing them. And they do a lot of like hazy New England style IPAs and stuff like that. And I've always dug their beers. Their sour stuff more so. It seems like they have a really good take on that, which leads me to this. I'm super excited to give it a whirl. First thing I've ever had from them in a bottle. I think it is their first bottle. I could be wrong. I'm sure there's bottles of randomness floating around, but sellable bottles, whatever you want to call it, to market bottles, I guess. So yeah, what are you gonna do? Review it. There you go. Came out a couple days ago. This is the 29th of October. I believe it was released on Friday, so like 2 days ago. As far as what it says on this label, it just says Valley Beer Sour Farmhouse Ale. Over here it says Valley Beers are sour farmhouse ale fermented in foeders with wild yeast and souring bacteria and aged for up to a year in oak barrels. This beer is bottle conditioned with champagne yeast, so please open cold, pour carefully, and expect some sediment. It's only 5% alcohol by volume, and that'd be that. Batch number 1. So I assume they're going to have a series of this. What do I know about this beer just beyond what's on the label? It says this age up to a year in oak barrels. These are wine barrels, they said, and it was 12 months. And what was the one little bit and piece of that? I don't remember, but it's a wine barrel. They didn't say what kind of wine barrel. So yeah, we're going to dive into it. Label-wise, it's cool. I dig it. I love their art. Just kind of really cool. Nice little bottle shape to it. A little fancy. Not a big pastel guy, but it kind of works for their kind of color palette where they usually do label-wise. So yeah, really nice texture on the label. Classy all around. So yeah, really excited to give this a whirl. I haven't had it before. I had a share this weekend. That one of these was open at the share, but I'm getting old and I don't last as long anymore at shares. So I left, and after I left, it was opened. So I'm kind of like that. That I'm going into it a little bit, I guess you would say, blind, I guess you would say. So yeah, there we go. So you're talking about champagne yeast, wine barrels, and a proper sour, not a Kel sour, something that was actually a little bit of yeasty, a little bit of critter, a little bit of funkiness going on there. So it looks like she wants to come out of the bottle. She does. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's that kind of beer, so. Plus, it was filled pretty high, so. So you're talking about wine barrels, you're talking about sours, you're talking about Hudson Valley sour. So we'll see what happens with this sucker. Give it a pour, let that head kind of dissipate. I don't think it's going to stay around all that long. I don't have any paper towels laying around, so just have to clean up later. It's getting close to winter, so bugs be damned. Anyway, what do we have here? We have a very soft, hazy, vibrant glow to it. It looks very similar to what like magic markers. If you ever used to take like the yellow magic marker and you can kind of soak it into and water and then kind of put it under a black light, it has that kind of vibrant glow to it. Rich, slightly hazy yellow to it. Almost beaming. Almost like light itself is coming from the beer. And, you know, finger and a half, 2 fingers of whitehead. Decently creaminess. Stick around a little bit longer than I thought she would. And that'd be that. She looks like a beer. She looks like a sour beer. She also looks like she could be, you know, a Saison, something like that. But it's light, crisp, refreshing kind of beer. Let's see if we can get a nose on her. Getting slightly acidic, more tart than anything else, kind of sour out of this. It has a little bit of spice to it, and I think that's like a yeast thing. I think that spice is like more of like a peppery kind of thing going on in there. But she's like the sours that they produce there are kind of like more somewhere between, you know, your kettled sour and your kind of, not, I don't want to say nail ripping sour, but more kind of you know, traditional bacteria or on purpose, or what's the word I'm looking for here? Kind of just purposely real sour. I don't like to use that word, but that's the only word that comes to mind at the moment. Loss. What do you want? Their beers tend to come off somewhere a bit and kind of south of your kind of old school sour, a little bit north of your kind of kettled sour, and that's where this nose kind of lands. I'm not really getting much oak out of it. I'm not getting much wine out of it. If I were going to take a guess, I don't think it's a white wine. I don't think it's a red wine. It's a middle-of-the-road kind of wine. Chardonnay barrel, maybe, something like that. Something a little bit meatier in the middle. Nothing too dry, nothing too sweet, kind of in the middle. Kind of like, you know, the way that their sours land. But yeah, soft tartness, soft acidity. A little bit of sweetness in there. A little bit of spiciness, I believe, coming from that yeast. Done. So, let's dive in. See what she's got. Cheers. It really does come off as a more jacked up, more robust version of a lot of their kind of base sours. That's not a bad thing by any means. There's definitely a lingering kind of meaty grapiness to it, which is kind of cool. Yeah, again, first thing I kind of wanted to figure out is what kind of wine. That was my own personal kind of challenge going in this one, because I know it's wine barrels. They didn't say what kind of wine barrels. Again, I just go like a middle-of-the-road kind of wine. When I say that, I mean nothing too dark and dry, nothing too bright yellow kind of not citrus, sweetness kind of wine. Somewhere in the middle. I don't know much of anything about wines, but I believe that's kind of like in your Chardonnay realm. And that's kind of what I'm getting from here. I'm getting a nice kind of meaty grapiness that's coming off. Not too sweet, not too tart. There is a soft oak character to it too, but it's nothing too crazy. It's nothing overtly drying kind of tannin-wise. It does seem like some of the acidity from the sour itself has been rounded. It's more acidic, more sour than their other beers. I actually don't know if their other beers are kettle sours. I don't think they are. I think they are just kind of like low, tweakable kind of sours, kind of like rare barrel style, to where they kind of have a base sour that they use and they kind of fuck with. I believe that's what they do with this. This tastes like kind of like a more kind of blended version of all those kind of sours, but again, it could be the wood going at it. It's, you know, Asian foeder, and then it's, you know, oak barrel aged too on top of that. So it could be just a matter of time, kind of curving those edges, kind of burn those edges down. But it has more acidity. It's kind of weird. It's like an oxymoron. Well, it's not as acidic. No, that's not what I'm saying. It is more acidic. It's just the edges aren't as jarring and as sour. There's a soft, like, lemony tartness to it. That grapiness doesn't come right at the beginning, but it kind of just slowly builds, and definitely when you're finishing and let it sit, you get that meaty grapiness. Soft wood throughout, but nothing too kind of overt. It's really pretty. That's what I would actually define this beer as, is pretty. It's I was gonna go, it's almost like a food beer, but I don't think it's a food beer. I think this is just a beer. This is like a beer you drink by yourself. I mean, you share with friends, that'd be great, but this is kind of a beer I want to drink all by myself. I kind of want to just sit there, open it, kind of, you know, put, you know, on some music or do something to where I'm just kind of just enjoying the moment for a while. And just kind of let it sit and let it go. And just let it, you know, it's kind of, I don't know, dive into the beer, actually get into the beer, as opposed to just like drinking. I wouldn't want to drink this at a share. Like I said, I was at a share. It was open right before I left. I'm super glad I didn't have it, because I think I might have had different thoughts going into this review of it. You know, you drink a bunch of beers at a share, and then you have this. It might be just kind of lost in the mix. But yeah, super delicate. Super pretty. Definitely a sour. Enough acidity to kind of let you know that you're drinking a true sour, but the edges are so rounded that it's super approachable. Tart, like lemon, orangey kindness in it, but it's all very kind of, everything's fleshy in there. There's nothing overtly sweet. There's nothing overtly sour to it. It's all kind of so soft and pretty and delicate in there. I'll just keep using those 3 words over and over again. How's that sound? And that's pretty much it. This is really good. This is way better than I thought it was going to be based off of the first taste. When I first tasted it, I was like, okay, what am I getting here? What am I getting here? I was, wine barrel aged, this and that, and some of the other beers I've had from, again, most of their sours that I've had have been like dry hop this and fucked with that way. So to actually have this and kind of going into it expecting a little bit more, and at first sip be like, okay, this is really kind of just super gentle, but letting that kind of gentle work through, and then actually realizing how tasty it is, how showy but vibrant, but at the same time really delicate and rounded on the edges. It's actually a super fun fucking beer. That champagne yeast, I'm not really getting much of that, to be perfectly honest with you. Usually champagne I'm really kind of sensitive to. I'm not a big champagne kind of guy, so I'm not really getting much champagne out of it yeast wise, but it's kind of like champagne is also delicate too, so it could be something that's kind of lost in there on me, or I'm just not picking it up. But yeah, super tasty, super nice, super gentle, and super drinkable, and yeah, good stuff. Let's talk about it. Is it one of the better barrel-aged sours I've had as of late? It's definitely in the conversation. Could be up there. Close to the top, to be perfectly honest with you. There's ones that kind of worked a little bit more for me. And this is all about what I perceive, obviously. My sour love usually runs more in the funky realm. Do you know what I mean? As opposed to kind of this kind of sour, which is more like, somewhere above kettle, somewhere below original or OG kind of sour. It's not like Cascade style enamel ripping sour. It's not like old school kind of, Belgian style kind of, Cantillon, Trefontaine kind of stuff. It's more kind of, it's what this beer is this brewery. It's very its own thing. I can't really kind of associate it with anything else. It's very much more kind of saison turned sour with barrel aging more than kind of a sour that's been fucked with, but it's its own thing, which makes it super unique in itself. And but it's up there. Let's put it that way. I like mine a little bit more kind of funky. Anyway, rambling. Value and availability, $18, brewery only. I get it. It's a 5%. It's a sour. It's a bottle. There's wax involved. It's fancy. It's from a very popular new brewery. I can't hate on that price because that's probably market value for a $7.50 like that. But at the same time, I just wish it was a little bit more accessible and a little bit cheaper. And just leave you with, if you like what we like this. If you like their beers. If you like sour beers. If you like sour beers, but you think some of them are way too kind of showy, way too harsh, especially on the edges, it's really worth trying to track it down a bottle, especially if you like more pretty delicate beers. That's where this kind of lives. That's where its wheelhouse is being in that kind of soft, yet at the same time having a bit of chutzpah to it, and just, you know what I mean, being showy, but at the same time not being ostentatious. You know what I mean? I don't know how to really define it. It's definitely an impactful beer, but it's impactful the way getting hit with a gigantic pillow is impactful. You know what I mean? It's not it's not a challenge beer. Let's put it that way. It's more of like a personal beer, a very kind of, like I said, it's something I'd want to drink just this beer by itself while listening to music or something like that. And I actually might do that because I got a bunch of records, so it might actually happen. So if you like that kind of stuff, definitely worth checking out. Or if you like good beer, because that's what Hudson Valley does. So there you go. Another review in the books. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you didn't, anywhere in between down there, words and stuff. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Untapped. Massive Beers, all 4 of those places if you want to check this dude out anywhere else. Do a lot of different stuff, so if you only know me from the YouTubes, pop over, say hi. And other than that, hopefully you guys enjoyed this review. Hopefully you enjoyed this beer if you had it. Hopefully you enjoyed tracking one down, and hopefully see you next time. Cheers.